If time could rewind, I really wish I could go back to the last time we met. I would look at you properly and never be so willful again. Heh, living isn't as simple as breathing. This was our last meeting. I really hope you, Feng, would get up and talk to me, even just a greeting. Are you in a lot of pain, please? Get up and look at me, won't you? You got up. I had a girlfriend I'd been with for years. She had a soft personality and loved to cry. When she got a problem wrong as a child, she'd tug my sleeve crying. Feng, why is this question so hard? When she first got her driver's license and hit someone, she called me crying. Feng, what should I do? I once thought she couldn't lift a finger or carry a burden, so I protected her even more carefully. But later, lying on the autopsy table, she didn't shed a single tear while dissecting me. She only asked softly, Feng, does it hurt? I never expected that the first corpse Luo Xinren would dissect, after becoming a forensic pathologist, would be mine. Clearly, just 3 days ago we were eating hot pot downstairs. She had just been promoted, dragged me out to celebrate, her eyes filled with longing for her future career shining like they held stars. With her mouth stuffed full, she mumbled, Feng, we forensic scientists are the last line of defense. I will punish evil and uphold justice, making those people pay the price. I just smiled at her words, wiped the oil from her mouth with a tissue, and said, okay, our Shinran will definitely become the best forensic scientist. She giggled at that, then buried her head to eat again. That was my Shinran lovely, beautiful, full of hope, not like now, standing before my corpse, calm and composed, cutting open my skin bit by bit with a scalpel. 8 broken ribs, ruptured spleen and lungs, intracranial hemorrhage, depressed skull fracture from blunt force trauma, comminuted fracture of the right leg. She recited these terms which sounded stiff in my world methodically. I stood behind her watching. Her hair was tied back in a low ponytail, and under her white coat she wore the pink dress I gave her. She busied herself at the autopsy table for 3 hours without slacking for a minute. Someone asked her to eat, but she didn't go. It wasn't until sunset, after she finished all the examinations and wrote densely packed notes on the autopsy report, that she sat down next to me, looking down at me. Worried, I watched her from the side as she rested her face against my forehead and asked softly, Feng, does it hurt? With so many wounds, does it hurt? The day I met Lu Xinren was a snowy day. As usual, I was helping Mother Director organize donation accounts. Just as I came out of her room, I saw a small figure standing at the orphanage gate. Back then, Lu Xinren was only 7 or 8, barely reaching my waist. But she was beautiful, exquisitely carved, her nose red from the cold, holding a doll, quietly watching me, sobbing, I can't find my mommy. I looked at her without speaking, thinking everyone here couldn't find their mommies. Later she became one of us. Mother Director handed her to me, telling me she would be my sister from now on. I had no objections. I figured it was just an extra pair of chopsticks, but I soon discovered she was a crybaby. If she couldn't find her doll, she'd cry and grab my pant leg. If bullied by other kids, she'd just cry and grab my hand. Brother, I am scared. That was the first time I beat up those boys severely in the orphanage. Perhaps I had never lost my temper so fiercely. Everyone was frightened. I glared at them viciously, holding Shinran in my arms, and said coldly, everyone here is a child without a mother. There is no need for the pot to call the kettle black. If I hear that again, I'll tell Mother Director, and you'll all be thrown out. The children in the orphanage feared abandonment most. At my words, their faces turned pale, and they dared not speak again. It was only much later that I learned from Shinran that she thought I looked like a god descending, saving her life. When she talked about it, her eyes lit up. Feng, you are practically heaven sent to save me. Was I sent to save her? I don't know. I only knew she came to torment me. From having her, I had to attend school during the day, help Mother Director at night, and tutor her on top of everything else. Whenever I got strict, she'd complain with tears streaming down her face. Feng, you're bullying me again. Every time, I'd surrender. What could I do? She was a girl. Spoiling her a little wouldn't hurt. I spoiled her like this, growing up bit by bit, from a tiny girl to someone almost my height. After high school, I moved out of the orphanage, taking the newly high school-aged Lu Xinren with me. She insisted on coming with me, and I couldn't win against her. So I took her along. As a result, not only did I have to attend classes, but I also had to work part-time to make ends meet. Not only did I have to manage her studies, but I also had to guard against the waves of adolescent boys drawn to her looks, afraid she'd go astray. I told her tirelessly, Shinran, we're still young. Studying is the most important thing, understand? Back then, Shinran was silent for the first time. The orange desk lamp made her face look particularly pale. After a long while, she replied sullenly, there are many things more important than studying, like you. Being with Lu Xinren happened at her 19th birthday party. That year, I had just started working as an intern reporter at a newspaper, running around everywhere. Sometimes, when I went far, there was no signal, but Shinran, pampered by me since childhood, needed to hear my voice to sleep. So every day after work, I had to walk a long way to a signal tower to sit and call her. Occasionally, Shinran would complain, Feng, I've grown up. You don't have to work so hard. I can earn money too. Hearing this, I'd just laugh, then put on a stern face. Don't be disrespectful. Call me brother. But she refused. Not only refusing but scolding me and hanging up. My friends thought I didn't understand girls' minds. She just wanted me with her. Nonsense. How could I not understand Shinran? She was a rose I nurtured with my own hands. I lied to her, saying I couldn't make it back for her birthday. On the phone, she cried for 3 days straight, her voice hoarse. Yifeng, what will I do if you don't come back? Listening made my heart ache, like it was being scratched by a cat. But I still said, Shinran, don't cry. When I earn big money, I'll buy you lots of pretty dresses. Okay? Silence on the other end. Then louder crying. Yifeng, I've grown up. I don't want dresses anymore. This was the first time I told her I'd miss her birthday. She was angry, ignoring my messages for 3 days, until I showed up at her birthday party holding roses, asking amidst her stunned and terrified expression. Shinran, you've grown up. There is a question I've wanted to ask you for a long time. Can I stop being your brother and be your boyfriend instead? That day, Shinran cried until her makeup was ruined. Her pinned-up hair fell to her shoulders, and she held my hand tightly, refusing to let go. I do. I've wanted to since I was very small. I just smiled, wiped away her tears, and held her in my arms protectively. Just like when she was little. Later, Shinran gritted her teeth, twisting my ear, telling me, Yifeng, don't ever scare me like that again. Starting high then going low isn't the right way to give a surprise. She used a lot of force, making me wince in pain. What could I do? The rose I raised. I had to keep raising. I wouldn't trust anyone else with her. After being with Shinran, I worked extremely hard, often working overtime late into the night. I wanted to give Shinran a better future, wanting her life to be easier. Every time she would bring me supper, then blush and advise me, Yifeng, you should rest. It is too late. She always knew where my weaknesses lay. If she acted coquettish or shed a few tears, I felt the whole world was guilty. I tried reasoning with her, but she just shook her head while hiding in my embrace. Without you, I don't want any beautiful future. Back then, I thought she was too spoiled by me. What would she do without me? Would anyone else treat her as well as I did? But then I thought, she wouldn't be without me. I would always be by her side unless I died. But later, I really did die. I thought she would collapse, cry like a frightened little deer not knowing what to do. But she didn't. She dissected my corpse methodically, calmly submitting my autopsy report to the relevant departments. Yifeng, does it hurt? I wanted to tell her it didn't hurt, really. It didn't, just a bit of intracranial bleeding. I was more worried about her. She had lost so much weight. The dress that used to fit perfectly was now loose. I wanted to hug her, tell her to eat well. I had just managed to fatten her up. How could she lose weight so suddenly? Shinran handled my funeral affairs. Since we weren't married, when asked to present family proof, she had to ask mother director to come. After a lot of fuss, she finally brought my ashes back to our home. She showered and changed into pajamas as usual, then got into bed hugging my ashes. I lay beside her as usual, reaching out to touch her face. But my hand passed through. I froze, then saw her hugging my urn, mumbling, Yifeng, they say you deserved it. They say it was just an accident, telling me to take the money and settle it privately. Yifeng, look, without you, someone is bullying me again. Her voice was low, sounding a bit choked, but I moved around and saw she wasn't crying. She rested her face against my urn and whispered, good night, Yifeng. On the 4th day after my death, Luo Shinran quit her job. This was unexpected. I watched her stand in the office holding my urn, her spine straight. She wasn't wearing those flashy dresses I couldn't understand. She wore black, no jewelry, her black hair tied low in a ponytail. She stood unbowed and unyielding as the director shouted at her, Shinran, why can't you understand? The world isn't black and white. That family has power and influence. We common folk should just take the win and stop, okay? You insist on blowing this up. What good does it do you? Her voice echoed loudly in the small office. Worried, I watched Shinran. She was timid, frightened easily. Whenever I raised my voice, she'd shed little pearls looking at me. But now, she didn't cry. Her face was wooden as she touched my urn before saying softly, it does no good, but my Yifeng cannot have died in vain. Her voice wasn't loud, but it landed heavily. I stood beside her listening, suddenly remembering when Shinran first entered university. She went crazy one day and told me she wanted to study forensic science, secretly changing her major from clinical medicine. That was the first time I fought with her in my life. I said, why can't you be a doctor, saving lives and healing the wounded? Why must you deal with corpses? Back then, she looked up with a small face, voice quiet but firm. If everyone thinks that way, who will seek justice for those who died unjustly? I had no way to deal with her insistence back then. Now watching her plunge ahead alone, I was equally helpless. After resigning, Luo Shinran lived a very leisurely life at home. Her biggest hobby was researching cooking, but she couldn't pampered by me since childhood. She couldn't even boil water, let alone cook standing in the kitchen. Brow furrowed. Which one is salt? I stood behind her, pointing to the small bottle on her right. This one, but she grabbed the wrong one, didn't taste it and poured sugar in. 5 minutes later, she brought a lump of charred black stuff to my urn. Eyes bright. Yi Feng, try it. Is it tasty? I looked at the mess, wanting to speak but stopping. She probably remembered this, tentatively tasting a bite, then her face turned green as she rushed to the toilet. I leaned against the doorframe watching her vomit violently, suddenly finding it funny. But as I laughed I heard her say, Yi Feng, I guess I am destined to eat takeout. I didn't speak, just stood watching her. I was close enough to hug her, yet so far away I could never hold her again. She posted her daily life online. Initially there weren't many likes, mostly mocking her. But later she accidentally showed her face, and comments turned kind. Occasionally, I followed Shinran watching the comments in the back end, mostly praising her beauty. Nonsense, my heart's desire, raised carefully for so many years. Of course she is beautiful. Relying on her outstanding looks and clumsy skills, she emerged on the internet. Almost overnight, she transformed from a slightly pretty girl into a small blogger with 100,000 followers. Then, many cultural media companies threw olive branches at her. I watched her pick and choose among the invitations, finally selecting Gemini Media. When I saw that name, a sharp pain suddenly shot through my brain, then gradually spread to my chest, abdomen, and finally my limbs. Those fragmented memories lost due to death reappeared in my mind bit by bit. I thought one didn't feel pain after dying, but in that instant, I felt like I was falling apart, trembling all over. Looking at Shinran, she looked up from the computer screen, touching my urn, asking softly, Yi Feng, what if I sign with them? Luo Shinran successfully signed with Gemini, but unlike other streamers who sold goods or chatted, her update frequency was low. When she did appear, it was either sharing life or dancing, not intense Korean dances, but gentle Chinese dances, flowing and beautiful. When not updating, she spent more time curled up on the balcony reading, bringing my urn out for sunbaths. She kept 2 pots of flowers on the balcony, colorful, though I couldn't tell the species anyway. She liked them, checking them 2 or 3 times a day. Later, her fans grew, and her reputation improved, showing signs of becoming a top streamer. So when Gemini called inviting her to the company's anniversary celebration, I wasn't surprised at all. Instead, Lu Xinren was silent for a rare moment. The other party was clearly anxious. Lu Xinren, this anniversary, even the boss might come. You must come. It is a huge opportunity. Catch this chance and you'll become the most famous streamer. Lu Xinren responded faintly and hung up. I stood beside her wanting to tell her not to go, not to be a streamer. She should wear her pristine white coat, stand devoutly before the autopsy table, holding her future in one hand and her past in the other. But she couldn't hear me. She just walked to the desk, looking at our photo, then opened a drawer, pulling out a notebook. My work diary. She flipped through page after page, her expression gradually softening, until photos appeared mixed in the notebook. Female bodies, crying faces, fragmented alongside my notes. She watched for a while, then suddenly looked up as if sensing me, and slowly opened her mouth. Yi Feng, tell me, what did you find? What made them decide to kill you? Her eyes slowly reddened, her voice becoming choked. I refuse to believe evil prevails over good in this world. What you didn't finish, I'll help you complete. When Luo Xinren went to the dinner party, she dressed up specially. Unlike the common flashy styles, her beauty was fresh and elegant. She wore only a white dress, spinning several times before me, stuffing something inside, then nodding satisfactorily. She had been raised well by me over the years, hadn't seen the dark side of human nature, hadn't suffered much hardship. Even nearing 30, she still looked pure and flawless, like the first lily blooming in early spring. This unworldly aura attracted those who rolled in the mire. She knew how to amplify her strength. So when Gu Wuyan, the young master of Gemini, showed interest in her, I wasn't surprised at all. Gu Wuyan invited her onto the boat multiple times during the event, wanting to take her out to sea next week. Shinran smiled gently each time, shaking her head saying she got seasick. She grasped the distance perfectly. Then we can go elsewhere, as long as Miss Luo graces us with your presence. Is Boss Gu pursuing me? He looked good when he smiled, eyes curved, filled with clarity he'd never seen before. Gu Wuyan stared mesmerized, but Shinran didn't give him time to react. As soon as the party ended, she disappeared without a trace, lifting her skirts. Returning home, she dropped the facade, lying quietly beside my urn. She and I just stared at each other, neither speaking, until she fell into a deep sleep. News of Gu Wuyan pursuing Luo Xinren spread quickly through the circle. He started squatting in her live streams daily, sending massive gifts. Then he sent flowers, different ones every day, each with a card. I don't know what flowers you like, so I'll send a few more. One had to admit he knew how to court, using methods girls liked and didn't resent. He asked her to lunch, and when he saw her soaked by rain while taking a taxi to the date, he waved his hand and bought her a sports car. Everyone said Gu Wuyan was truly smitten this time. This man, who had lingered among flowers for years, causing love and hate among women, had finally fallen. But Lu Xinren didn't care about this. Every meeting was a crafted product, calculated by her. The moment she separated from Gu Wuyan, the tenderness in her eyes vanished completely. If I hadn't seen it myself, I wouldn't have believed love could be faked. As planned, Gu Wuyan sent strange items daily. Shinran only accepted inexpensive ones. The rest were returned. Probably because he rarely saw such girls, his competitive spirit flared. He declared he would chase Lu Xinren no matter the cost. When Lu Xinren heard this, it was already late at night. I stood beside her watching her listen silently. After hanging up, she smiled slowly. Looking at my urn, she said softly, "Yifeng, look. I did it." I looked down at her, wanting to pull her into my arms throat-tight. My Shinran, the best. 2 weeks after Gu Wuyan made his declaration, Lo Shinran finally agreed to try dating him. Gu Wuyan was so happy he wanted to set off firecrackers to announce it to the world. He immediately organized a gathering, inviting everyone to a grand party, yet Lo Shinran, the center of attention, suddenly vanished. Gu Wuyan searched inside and out, nearly turning the place upside down, but couldn't find Lu Xinren. Only I knew that during her absence, she slipped away to meet someone. By the time she reappeared, only 15 minutes remained before the party started. The enraged Gu Wuyan, seeing Lu Xinren dressed up like a fairy descended to earth in a low-cut gown, instantly calmed down. "Shinren, where did you go? I looked for you for ages." I was a bit sleepy, found a place to nap. Gu Wuyan looked at her low-cut dress, satisfied. "Sleeping was fine. Tonight I have some good brothers coming. It'll end late, so I won't accompany you." Shinren nodded, saying nothing. Just watching Gu Wuyan leave. Others might not know what his parties were for, but Lu Xinren, having read my reports, understood perfectly. This wasn't a playground for the rich, it was a female demon's lair. Gemini Media was ostensibly a streamer company, but in reality it was a pimp providing colored services to business tycoons. Using high signing bonuses, he scouted different types of women, tempting them to sign contracts with high liquidated damages, forcing them to provide services. Per H's instructions. As the middleman, he only needed a discreet location to reap invisible benefits and resources. Girls who disobeyed were either imprisoned, beaten, or sold to Myanmar. Common occurrences. I learned this one night. Shinran had her period, complaining of discomfort. I tossed and turned until late night, just about to sleep, when I received a text message. It was short, only 2 words, in position. No information, just those 2 words. Colleagues advised me it might be a prank, no name or contact info, who knows if it is real. But I thought, what if it is real? I am her only hope. Shinran thought the same. Yes, my original intention as a journalist was to seek justice for the helpless. I just didn't expect this justice to be so difficult, costing me my life. Did it have to drag my Lo Shinran into danger? She initially just wanted to retrieve the evidence I had filmed and saved, but after searching in vain decided to risk herself. I saw her follow behind Gu Wuyan, wearing a snow-white dress, looking back from the deck. Her long hair whipped by the wind, her face pale, yet her eyes held terrifying determination. Pressing the alarm in her hand, within 5 minutes, Gu Wuyan was before her. "You called the police, didn't you?" Gritting his teeth, he looked like he might strangle her the next second, but Lu Xinren calmly nodded. "What do you know?" "I know everything. You approached me with a purpose from the start. If it weren't for your caution, holding parties on the yacht requiring someone close to you to get your location, I wouldn't have bothered meeting you. I find you dirty." Gu Wuyan's face turned terrifyingly pale. "You think you can succeed? I told you, my yacht has signal jammers. Your calls couldn't get out." Lu Xinren stood in the night, her white dress spotless. She didn't answer, just staring at the water. After a while, she said, "But I never intended to call the police successfully." As her words fell, Gu Wuyan's expression changed. "You have a tracker on you." Lu Xinren didn't answer, just gave him a stunning smile. The next second, deafening police sirens rang out, followed by footsteps, gunshots, chaos. Gu Wuyan was pulled away trying to escape, but he stared fixedly at Lo Xinren opposite him. Then, like a mad beast, charged at her, dragging her into the sea. Gu Wuyan was always dangerous. I knew that from the day I dealt with him. Suspicious, highly vigilant, no weaknesses except women, but even with women, few earned his trust. Lu Xinren was special, the only one he truly cared for. Once I knew Gu Wuyan had feelings for Shinran, I knew she couldn't escape unscathed. He hated betrayal most. I resisted Shinran getting involved in this mess. She could have worn a spotless white coat, sat in the morgue seeking justice for others, instead of spinning in this dead end with me. I prepared for all consequences, but the moment she fell into the sea, I felt like I was dying all over again. I hated being a soulless spirit, unable to do anything but watch my Shinran fall. My Shinran went missing, 3 days after being dragged into the sea by Gu Wuyan. Thanks to Lu Xinren using her phone as a receiver, the police tracked the yacht that night. They rescued all the captive women, leaving only my Shinran behind. She was imprisoned by Gu Wuyan in a small room for 3 days. Gu Wuyan tortured her, constantly pulling her hair, beating her, slicing her skin with a knife, then pouring salt water on the wounds. He wanted to see Lu Xinren beg, but my Shinran refused to give him the satisfaction. Even as tears streamed from the pain, she didn't utter a word of plea. She held a resolve to die, determined to finish what I started. But Gu Wuyan brought a video of me before my death. Pinching her chin, he snarled, I have no grudge with you. Why must you drive me to death? He opened the video. So this reporter surnamed Yi was your boyfriend. Do you know how he died? I saw Shinran's eyes turn red instantly. She gazed greedily at the footage of my agonizing screams, whimpering for the first time. Instinctively, I raised my hand to cover her eyes. Don't watch, Shinran. But she couldn't hear, and I couldn't block it. His bones were tough. He endured a week, bones broken and reset repeatedly, 20 fingernails ripped out. Yet he still refused to say where he hid the evidence. His voice was low, gentle like coaxing a baby, but Lu Shinran was like an enraged lion, lips trembling, glaring at him. He wouldn't say, so you beat him to death, intracranial puncture. 8 broken ribs. Hearing this, Gu Wuyan went mad. He slapped Lu Shinran hard. He wouldn't say, so I had to kill him, if not him, then me. Saying that, he painfully hugged Luo Shinran, held in his arms, her blood staining his white shirt. She looked at the frozen image of me in the video with detachment. Suddenly she smiled, then like a mad woman bit Gu Wuyan's ear. She used immense force. Gu Wuyan screamed in pain immediately, but she didn't let go, staring red-eyed, tearing outward with all her strength until her mouth filled with blood, until she felt a chunk of flesh. Then she spat it out. Gu Wuyan's face twisted in agony, hands covering his ear, blood pouring through his fingers. Before he could gloat, he heard sirens again. Incredulous, he looked at Lu Shinran gasping on the ground. How? I checked thoroughly. You have no trackers. Lu Shinran shackily stood up from the ground, sneering. No tracker on the body doesn't mean there is none inside the body. As her words fell, navy blue uniforms appeared in her vision. At the sight of the uniform, Lu Shinran couldn't hold on, collapsing straight backward. Lu Shinran woke again in the hospital. She slept for a long time. Upon waking, she only asked one thing. Gu-Wuyan, where is he? Only then did she learn that after the police stormed in, Gu Wuyan's first reaction was to flee and resist arrest, even using the unconscious her as a hostage for a way out. But someone who never gave others a way out didn't deserve one himself. His final outcome was death. Later, for some unknown reason, on a quiet night before execution, he suddenly committed suicide. When found, his body was already stiff. Hearing this, Lu Shinran visibly relaxed, then completely let go, immersing herself in her own world, refusing to communicate with the outside. Doctors said it was psychological trauma. The heart needs its own medicine. But no matter how the police asked, she wouldn't say another word. She wouldn't interact with anyone, like a delicate puppet. One night after Lu Shinran fell asleep, she had a very long dream. The night I saw Yifeng's body was just a very ordinary night. I was still working overtime. Yifeng often said that if he knew being a forensic pathologist was so tiring, he absolutely wouldn't have agreed to it. He was always like that, unable to bear seeing me tired or in pain. The first time I saw him, he was only 14, just a child himself. Back then, my parents had passed away one after another. Relatives saw me as a burden and left me at the orphanage gate. I thought my life after 8 would be like the storm-tossed children in books. But it wasn't. My life after 8 was entirely propped up by Yifeng. My Shinran cries so easily, what will you do if I am not here someday? When he said this, his eyes were full of heartache. Back then, I didn't know how to answer him. But later, when he truly wasn't there, I realized I didn't have to worry about that question anymore. I knew his death was suspicious. My autopsy results were absolutely not wrong. But reports submitted again and again were rejected. They told me to settle, saying the people behind this were untouchable. One Yifeng is already gone. Do you want to throw yourself in too? I said nothing, resigning resolutely. Yifeng and I swore to uphold justice our own way. Moreover, today's justice included a share of Yifeng's, so I didn't want to turn back. Nor was I willing to. The material Yifeng left wasn't much, but it was clear Gu Wuyan wasn't someone to provoke. So after successfully attracting Gu Wuyan, when the police came to me, I didn't refuse. I wasn't afraid of death. I only feared he wouldn't be brought to justice. I strung Gu Wuyan along for a long time because someone like him, if obtained too easily, wouldn't cherish it. Sure enough, when I nodded in agreement, he was overjoyed. He arranged a massive party. Its scale was so large, almost all small streamers came. Gu Wuyan set the time, saying his driver would pick me up, introducing me completely to everyone. But I didn't wait for him. I went to meet someone. That person implanted a micro-tracker in my body, he said. As long as you activate the signal source inside, we can lock onto you within 2 minutes. But this also means once they detect you, you'll be exposed, and we might not have time to save you. When he said this, he looked at me with guilt. I looked at him, smiling as I shook my head. Yifeng said that all darkness in this world disappears where the sun shines brightly. He said that, and he did that, and so would I. When activating the tracker, I was prepared to die on that ship. I thought I hadn't disgraced Yifeng. Everything he wanted to do, I completed for him. But I didn't expect Gu Wuyan, that madman, would rather die than let me go. That night, everyone on the ship was rescued. The wicked were judged except Gu Wuyan. He dragged me into the sea to escape, but I tried to pull him down with me, yet he struggled to save me. ignoring my wishes. He dragged me ashore, patting my face in near collapse. Luo Shinran, don't die, I won't allow you to die. Hearing that made me want to laugh. What qualification did a villain like him have to touch me? He took me to a private estate, my phone and communication devices were confiscated, unable to tell where I was or contact anyone. Unexpectedly, Jiyu Wuyan treated me well, caring for me daily, humbly pleasing me, but I ignored it all. I had seen the most beautiful moon in this world, no one else could enter my eyes. Until days later, Gu Wuyan cracked. He locked me up, torturing me daily. I watched the fair skin Yi Feng nurtured turn ugly, yet I gritted my teeth without a sound. Gu Wuyan would hold me, eyes red. Just say you were wrong, say you love me, and I'll let you go. Unable to struggle, I asked him, did you do this to my Yi Feng too? Yi Feng was most afraid of pain since childhood. In the orphanage, fights broke out over scraps. To protect me, Yi Feng took many beatings, experiencing it often made him fearful. Even getting an injection as an adult, he'd grip my hand tightly. 8 broken ribs, intracranial puncture. My Yi Feng, how much pain must he have endured? Gu Wuyan, he truly deserves to die. Every time I mentioned Yi Feng, Gu Wuyan looked at me in pain. He asked me, am I really inferior to him? Yes, inferior. Not even a hair on Yi Feng's head compared to him. He tortured me like this for 3 full days. I could clearly feel my consciousness fading, yet I dared not sleep. I feared that if I slept, I wouldn't see Gu Wuyan's end. To stimulate me, Gu Wuyan even showed me the video of Yi Feng before his death. Look clearly, he is dead, killed by my hands like this. I saw it. I saw my Yi Feng, his beautiful nasal bone broken, his spirited face gradually stained red with blood. Evil cannot prevail over justice in this world. One day you will surely be punished. I looked at him, his features blurred, covered in blood, speaking slower and slower. My eyes turned red too. While I was entranced, the police arrived. Countless sirens pierced my eardrums. Gu Wuyan finally panicked. He pinched me screaming, asking why there were still police. Hearing his question, I just found it funny. I laughed twice, stopping because of the pain. Because there is a tracker inside my body too. I came prepared to die. How could I let him escape easily? Gu Wuyan was dead. That is what they told me after I woke up. Originally, he was to be executed officially, but he couldn't accept it. He shouted in his cell, demanding to see me. Days before the execution, he went mad and committed suicide in his cell. They said his last words were asking, Lu Shinran, did he ever love me? Hearing this, I only felt nauseous. How could I love him? The only person I ever loved was Yi Feng. I remember when Yi Feng was in high school, I had just graduated elementary school. According to orphanage rules, you had to leave at 18, and Yi Feng was no exception. When he dragged his suitcase to leave, I bawled, hugging his leg, refusing to let go. I said, you can't abandon me. I have no parents anymore. I can't lose you too. Back then, Yi Feng wore his high school blue uniform. Facing my tantrum, he just held his forehead. Helpless yet doting. Okay, Shinran, stop crying. I'll take you with me. We'll be together forever, never separating, okay? Okay, of course it was good. But Yi Feng, I've caught up. Where are you? Lo Shinran woke with a start, sweat and tears mixing, streaming down her cheeks. Are you okay? The voice came from the next bed. Her neighbor was a student just starting high school, sent here diagnosed with depression. Usually neither spoke. The ward was quiet enough to hear a pin drop. Yet today this child spoke first. Long unused to speaking, Lo Shinran took a while to turn her head. The girl wore a blue school uniform. Sunlight filtered through the window glass onto her face. Staring for a moment, she suddenly smiled. You look like my boyfriend. The kid scoffed. You are nothing but a skeleton. You actually have a boyfriend. Lu Shinran smiled without speaking. The kid laughed again. If you really do, you've been here so long. Why hasn't he come to pick you up? Hearing this, Lu Shinran paused, a sweet glow appearing on her face. That day, the usually silent Lu Shinran spoke many words to this child. From our first meeting to the final outcome, she spoke delicately, voice light, like brushing away dust on time. Every fragment about Yi Feng carried the temperature she treasured. From the freezing snowy day at the orphanage gate, to the birthday banquet where she appeared with roses, to the icy reunion on the autopsy table. Her voice was sometimes gentle, sometimes choked, finally settling into heavy silence. Yi Feng, you'll come pick me up soon, right? The child listened quietly, small body curled in bed, chin on knees. Lo Shinran's last murmured question, perhaps the child didn't catch clearly, but I heard it. A sharp, icy panic seized me instantly, more suffocating than death itself. Late that night, the silence of the hospital was broken by a suppressed, urgent sound of rushing water. In that small bathroom, Lu Shinran lay in a pool of glaring crimson, like a white flower soaked in blood, withered. Her face was paler than the hospital walls. Once star-filled eyes closed, long lashes wet against her face, lifeless. I reached out futilely, wanting to plug the ghastly wound, wanting to pull her from the icy water, wanting to salvage everything. But my existence was just a silent mime. I could only watch helplessly as her body stiffened bit by bit. As nurses rushed in panicked, as the glaring red was finally covered by a white sheet. Time stretched cruelly long in my frozen despair, or perhaps it passed in an instant. Then he appeared, at that gray, chaotic edge between life and death where I lingered. Lo Shinran's form shifted from virtual to real, pale with blood, looking around blankly. The moment she saw me, the blankness shattered, replaced by overwhelming joy at reunion and indescribable grief exploding in her eyes simultaneously. Yi Feng, her voice, trembled uncontrollably. I could no longer restrain myself, practically crashing into her, pulling her tightly into my arms. No longer a void touch, but a real embrace with warmth and weight. Her hair brushed my cheek, carrying a faint scent belonging to Lu Xinren, mixed with a lingering metallic tang. I breathed greedily, arms wrapping so tight as if to meld her into my very marrow, never to separate again. Idiot, a perfectly good living world, and you chose to come here suffering. I rasped, voice thick with the aftermath of survival and heartache. Luo Xinren didn't argue or show grievance at the scolding. Like a weary bird finally finding harbor, she buried her face deep in my neck, rubbing vigorously, drawing comfort from this regained reality. Then I heard her sigh with contentment, whispering, "But the place where you are is my world." Immense sourness and sweetness struck me simultaneously. I tightened my arms, wanting to cling to her in this chaos until the end of time. Yet just as we embraced in the quiet, sweet aftermath of reunion, a voice pierced the boundaries of life and death, ringing clear. "But here, you cannot stay long." The voice was youthful, yet carried a strange penetrative power and undeniable calm. Shinran and I jerked apart, staring in shock towards the sound, vision piercing through the hospital walls. Yes, we could still see that ward. The boy in the blue and white hospital gown was sitting cross-legged on his own bed. He wasn't looking at anything in the ward. He tilted his head slightly, gaze seemingly piercing space and dimensional barriers, locking precisely onto us two non-existent souls. That gaze was excessively clear, yet bottomlessly profound, belonging to no ordinary child. I did not intend to interfere in mortal affairs. The boy's voice rang again, flat but imbued with an indescribable power. But this girl's heart, her pure intent to burn herself to illuminate darkness and guard love, isn't this the very goodness I hope everyone possesses? His words fell like stones tossed into a still lake, creating invisible ripples. Before we could comprehend the meaning, we saw him raise his hand. A butterfly appeared abruptly, and a powerful yet gentle force suddenly enveloped us. The scene twisted violently like water disturbed. Gray chaos torn apart, blinding white light engulfing all perception. The picture shifted. Dizziness hit hard, like a soul forced into a high-speed centrifuge. Gray deathly silence ripped away, piercing white light consuming all senses. I instinctively squeezed my eyes shut, feeling my feet sink suddenly. Solid ground replacing the void firm, slightly elastic floor touching my soles. Sunlight, warm rays filtering through eyelids painting orange. Air smelled familiar, with faint floral scents and sun-baked cotton. My heart pounded wildly against ribs. I opened my eyes sharply. Sunlight poured genuinely, golden, across the entire familiar living room. Scattered manuscripts on the desk. A cardigan she tossed casually on the sofa. The two pots of pothos stretching leaves on the balcony. Everything identical to before we left. Dust-free, vibrant with life. This wasn't the gray edge after death, this was home. Immense absurdity and a joy, fear, and disbelief threatening to tear me apart surged simultaneously. I turned my stiff neck, gaze moving like rusty gears inch by inch towards the side. He was there. Luo Xinren was no longer the pale, withered body in the bathtub, nor the weak soul from the afterlife. She stood a step away, wearing that familiar, slightly faded beige housecoat. Sunlight outlined her slender, but no longer emaciated silhouette. Her cheeks even held a healthy flush, brought on by shock. Like two statues struck by a petrification spell, we stood in the familiar sun-drenched living room, staring at each other across a single step. The air was heavy enough to wring water from, only our ragged bellows like breathing audible in the dead silence. Shi Shinran? My throat felt sandpapered, voice hoarse, dry, unrecognizable, trembling uncontrollably. Is it me? Am I calling her? Or a hallucination? Another illusion after death. Hearing my voice, Luo Xinren trembled violently, like electrocuted. Her eyes locked onto my face, pupils dilated with extreme shock, clearly reflecting my image, also reflecting the same churning emotions, confusion, disbelief, and a fragile, Buganzan touch. Hope glimpsed from an abyss of despair. Time seemed frozen. We stood like statues bound by a freezing spell, staring across a step in the sunny living room. The air was heavy enough to drown in, only our ragged breaths audible. Shinran. My voice was even rougher, drier, barely recognizable. She reacted more intensely, trembling like struck by lightning. Her eyes fixed on my face, pupils shaking with disbelief, mirroring my own turmoil, confusion, incredulity. And a fragile hope glimpsed from despair. Yi Feng. Her voice was lighter, more ethereal, tinged with cautious probing, as if speaking louder might shatter the phantom. Her lips quivered violently, face shifting between ruddy and pale. Next, she lunged at me with all her strength. Not a light soul embrace, but a solid collision-like tackle. Yifeng, it is really you. Really right, she cried out, voice broken, carrying desperate verification and ecstasy. She looked up, tear blurred, at me, hands trembling as they urgently cupped my cheeks. Fingers icy yet scorching, tracing my brows, eyes, nose, lips repeatedly, as if confirming a lost treasure too precious to believe. It is me, Shinran, it is me. Overwhelmed by immense sourness and the joy of reunion, I could no longer suppress the tidal wave of emotion. My voice was too choked to form words, arms embracing her with greater force, wishing to embed her into my very being, merging bone and blood, never to part. I distinctly felt her tremors, the violent heartbeat in her chest echoing mine, the warm tears flowing on my skin. Everything was so real, no longer a cold urn, no longer a void embrace. You are touching me. I really am touching you, Yifeng. She cried until she could barely breathe, rambling incoherently, laughing through tears, like a blind person, suddenly seeing the sun after endless darkness, dazzled and bewildered, reacting only with primal instinct, clinging tight to this sole reality. Me, it is me, Shinran, me. I lowered my head, forehead against hers, noses touching, breath mingling. Her tears flowed into my mouth, salty yet sweet with the taste of survival. We stood embraced in the sunny living room center, like two ships battered by storms finally reaching shore, hulls scarred yet miraculously afloat. Tears flowed silently, soaking each other's shoulders. They washed away despair, yet also held giant question marks regarding this unbelievable fate. Joy, emotion, dread, confusion, bewilderment, countless intense feelings churned within us. Just then, the doorbell rang. We jumped apart like startled rabbits, exchanging glances. I took a deep breath and went to open the door. Two uniformed police officers stood outside. The older one, an officer I recognized from my case, smiled with relief. Comrade Yifeng, Comrade Luo Shinran, sorry to disturb your rest. Just passing by. Wanted to see how you are recovering. That warehouse operation was really close. Warehouse operation. I froze. The officer didn't notice my expression, continuing, you really have incredible luck, kid. Getting hit that many times with an iron bar by Gu Wuyan, we thought. Glad you were rescued in time, and thanks to Shinran coordinating internally and externally at the critical moment, helping us round up that gang. Gu Wuyan resisted arrest trying to run. Got taken out on the spot. Really satisfying. He patted my shoulder, firmly. You two did great. Rest well. Once you are fully recovered, the Bureau will apply for commendations. The younger officer added with a smile. Yeah, brother Yifeng, you scared sister-in-law half to death while you were comatose. But the doctor says recovery is good. Seeing you looking so well now puts our minds at ease. Their words were clear and natural, stating facts as widely known truths. Shinran and I stood at the door, listening to this completely alien truth, our hearts nearly overwhelmed by turbulent waves. We tacitly asked no questions, only responding vaguely, expressing gratitude. After seeing them off and closing the door, the world fell silent again. We looked at each other, speechless for a long time. No explanation needed, no verification required. An incredible yet crystal clear realization formed in our minds. Our memories weren't erased, but the world's memory regarding Yifeng's death and the subsequent revenge had been utterly rewritten by an incomprehensible force. Later, through conversations with friends, we discovered that in everyone's cognition, what Gu Wuyan inflicted upon me that day was not murder, but violent confinement and injury. The police intervened timely based on clues. Shinran acted as a key insider assisting me, and we coordinated internally and externally to dismantle Gu Wuyan's criminal group at a dock warehouse. Gu Wuyan was killed resisting arrest, and I merely suffered severe injuries, experiencing a long coma and rehabilitation period. Now finally returning healthy, this new past was logically consistent, detailed, becoming an indisputable fact for everyone. The following days fast-forwarded like happiness. Without the shadow of death, without the pressure of revenge, the world became bright and gentle. Shinran's face regained the luster I cherished most, the light of hope and enthusiasm for life. We stumbled together in the kitchen studying recipes. She still confused sugar and salt, but I'd laughingly hug her from behind. Teaching her hand in hand, we'd laze on the sofa watching old movies on weekends. She curled against me like a lazy cat. She wore those pretty dresses again, dragging me to parks, trying new restaurants, eyes refilling with stars. Those nightmares that tormented her seemed truly dispersed with the rewriting of memory. Occasionally, embracing deeply late at night, we'd mention that corrected experience, thankful for survival, filled with endless confusion, gratitude, and awe towards that mysterious existence. Yifeng, what exactly was that little boy? She nestled in my arms, fingers absently twirling my collar. I don't know, maybe a guardian sent by fate or some existence beyond our understanding. The important thing, I kissed her hair, holding her tighter, is that he gave us a chance to start over. This time, we must cherish it, living every day like forever. I lifted her face, gazing into her clear eyes. Months later, a simple yet warm wedding was held in a small church we knew. No extravagant display, only mother director, a few close friends, and a congratulatory flower basket sent by Officer Liu representing the police station. Sunlight filtered through stained glass, casting rainbow hues on her white veil. When she walked towards me step by step, time seemed to rewind to the snowy day we first met, except this time every step she took trod on a solid, hopeful future. I took her hand, placing the ring on her finger before the priest. As the ring slid onto her ring finger, she looked up at me, eyes rimmed red, yet corners of her mouth lifted high, blooming into a smile brighter than the sun. I lowered my head, devoutly kissing her lips, surrounded by applause and cheers of blessing, while my world contained only her warm breath and eyes overflowing with happiness. All suffering, separation, despair, became footnotes in a distant time, thoroughly washed clean by the surging love of the present moment. Meanwhile, at the hospital ward across town, afternoon sun remained warm, spilling over white sheets through bright windows. The little boy in the hospital gown, who once occupied the bed beside Lu Shinran, sat quietly on his bed, gazing peacefully at the blue sky and white clouds outside. His profile looked exceptionally soft and serene in the light. Suddenly, an imperceptible arc curved his lips, and deep within his clear eyes, an indescribable, vast, and merciful light flashed, like a divine glint sweeping past a deity's lowered lashes. The light vanished in an instant, so fast one might mistake it for a trick of the sun. Yuanguang, time to eat. A nurse's voice called cheerfully from the doorway. The little boy turned his head, face regaining the innocence and liveliness of his age, eyes curved as he replied, "Coming." He hopped off the bed, skipping lightly towards the door, small figure disappearing around the corner. Sunlight bathed the empty ward, peaceful and serene. The end.